I'm so happy to announce my new album, Happy Together. When my orchestra and I were finally able to get together again.
A new wave of sorrow has swept through Hollywood as André Rieu's son has come forward with heartbreaking news about the cherished music icon. For over 5 decades, André, famously known as the King of the Waltz, has captivated audiences across the globe with his magical music and charismatic presence. But after multiple shows were abruptly cancelled, fans began to grow concerned. Speculation about his health spread rapidly, though no official word came, until now. With visible emotion, his son has broken his silence and confirmed everyone's fears. What serious illness is André Rieu now facing? Could this signal the end of a legendary chapter in classical music? Join us as we explore the emotional truth behind André's diagnosis and the touching message from his son. This isn't the first health struggle for the beloved violinist. For years, André Rieu thrilled his global fanbase with spectacular performances fueled by his boundless passion for music. As the mastermind behind the Johann Strauss Orchestra, he created concert experiences that mesmerized fans young and old. But behind the curtain of those glittering shows, Rieu had been quietly grappling with major health issues that once brought his thriving career to a near standstill. In 2010, Rieu was known for his unshakable work ethic, reportedly never having taken a sick day. He even insisted he never experienced jet lag, a bold claim for someone constantly traveling the world. But everything changed one night during a holiday in Belgium when he awoke at 3 a.m. overwhelmed by a sensation of intense dizziness. He later described the room spinning wildly, and at the time, he had no idea what was happening. The next morning, he said he felt completely broken. Before that night, Rieu had been pushing himself relentlessly. He had just completed a DVD project, started intense Spanish lessons in preparation for concerts in Mexico, and had been performing under extreme heat, all within days. Looking back, he admitted he lived in only 2 extremes, either at full speed or at a total stop. He once believed that joy and mental resilience were enough to ward off illness, but this health scare changed his perspective. Doctors eventually diagnosed him with a vestibular nerve infection, a condition affecting the inner ear that disrupts balance. Even something as minor as a cold can trigger it. The illness left him so dizzy and nauseous that standing became a challenge. Initially, Rieu tried to minimize the condition's severity, but the symptoms forced him to cancel entire tours in the UK and Australia. The idea of taking 6 months off felt impossible, not just because of his love for performing, but also because he was responsible for the livelihoods of his entire team. He underwent a brain scan to rule out life-threatening conditions such as a tumor. Thankfully, no additional issues were discovered. Determined to heal, Rieu explored various treatment methods, and fans even pitched in with suggestions. One fan from Australia sent a letter recommending specific balance exercises, which he adopted with dedication. The routine involved walking in figure eights, practicing eye movements, and balancing on one leg with his eyes closed. According to Rieu, these exercises worked wonders, and within 3 months, his health had significantly improved. His path to recovery also sparked a major shift in his lifestyle. He reassessed his daily commitments and realized that non-musical duties, such as administrative tasks, public events, and academic lectures, were draining him. He made 2 lists, one of things he loved, which was short and focused on music, and another of things he disliked, which was much longer. He resolved to cut out the unnecessary stressors and realign his life around happiness, passion, and health. Experts say vestibular neuritis usually clears up within weeks, though relapses can occur in rare cases. Aware of this, Rieu became more protective of his well-being and focused only on projects that brought him joy. He embraced a healthier, more intentional lifestyle moving forward. Now, years later, troubling developments have re-emerged. According to his son, Rieu is once again battling a serious health issue. The news has deeply alarmed his fans and revived painful memories of his earlier struggles. Could history be repeating itself? André Rieu may be facing a relapse, or something even more serious. The big question now is, what exactly is he battling? The worst-case scenario had come true. Everything had been carefully organized. After 6 long years, André Rieu and his orchestra were finally back in Mexico, and fans were beyond excited. The concerts were sold out, and the first two performances in Mexico City were a huge success. But less than a day after the second concert, disaster struck. André suddenly became ill. What everyone had feared was quickly confirmed. He had come down with a severe flu, accompanied by a high fever and complete exhaustion. The tour couldn't continue. All the remaining shows had to be cancelled. Later, André's son, Pierre Rieu, revealed the full story. He explained that the long flight, the time difference, and Mexico City's high altitude had made things difficult from the beginning. André only had one day to rest before the first performance, and it simply wasn't enough. Everything hit him at once, and his body couldn't handle it. What began as mild discomfort rapidly worsened. Pierre said the decision to stop the tour wasn't easy, but once André became seriously sick, there was no choice. The team had to act quickly and fly him back home. Fans were devastated. Many had waited years for this chance, and every concert had been prepared down to the smallest detail. But it wasn't just the fans who felt the disappointment, the entire crew was heartbroken. Pierre said everyone was let down, but André's health had to be the priority. There had always been a fear that something might go wrong, and now it had. For a few days, André remained very ill, barely able to do anything. It was a tense time. Eventually, he began to recover, but it took almost a week for him to feel like himself again. André once said, "Yeah, I think it's possible to have fun also in classical music. I think always, why a guy like Mozart, but this experience changed how his team viewed international touring." Pierre shared that if they returned to Mexico, it wouldn't be before 2025. They would need more time for rest, better planning, and fewer risks. The situation was even more serious considering André's age. At 74, long flights and tight schedules are much more demanding. Pierre spoke honestly, traveling across the world just isn't the same anymore. Trips to distant places like Australia now feel nearly impossible. People might compare André to younger performers or athletes, but as Pierre pointed out, his father isn't 30 anymore. The body has its limits, and pushing them too far could lead to something worse. After his second concert, André seemed happy, smiling backstage, enjoying the moment. But even then, he quietly told his wife that he wasn't sure he could manage tours like this again. His body had been sending signals, and this time they were loud and clear. It was no longer an option to push through. If André wanted to continue performing, he had to start listening to his body, resting when needed and slowing down. The pressure wasn't just on André. His team felt the strain too. Could the high altitude and harsh conditions have affected them all? At over 2,000 meters above sea level, performing was tough on everyone. With less oxygen, fatigue set in quickly. Donna Alberti, a lead singer who had toured with Rieu since January, said she felt the effects during rehearsals. Her face turned red, and nosebleeds were common among the team. She laughed about it, but admitted it was a struggle. During her performance of I Will Survive, she had to pause and drink water just to finish the song. Pierre said he was proud of his father for knowing when to say enough. Canceling the concerts was a tough call, but it was the right one. Collapsing on stage would have been far worse. The impact was wide-reaching. Around 40,000 fans were let down, and 125 crew members had to return home early. The sudden change caused massive disruptions, ticket refunds, canceled flights, and a loss in merchandise sales. To make matters worse, the group had no insurance for this type of cancellation. Emma, another performer, said she went from singing for 10,000 people to learning the tour was over the next day. Even as she walked down the street, fans still asked for photos, many unaware that it could have been their last chance to see Rieu live in Mexico. The atmosphere had been electric. Outside the venue, a pop-up market of unofficial Rieu merchandise had sprung up. From mugs and teddy bears to t-shirts, people celebrated his return. Rieu had laughed about it at the time. During the concert, the audience chanted his name. "I experienced that every night," he said. "And people write me, 'It took me 2 weeks to come down after your concert.'" Even when he asked the crowd to head home during the encores, they refused, cheering until he played one more song. There were no warning signs of what was about to happen. But in the end, it all came to a sudden stop. Back home in Maastricht, André focused on recovery. Pierre expressed hope for their next scheduled concert in Liverpool. But it's possible that Mexico has seen its final Rieu performance. André's earlier words, "I just want to stay healthy so I can keep doing this," now sound like a quiet warning. Sadly, this wasn't the first time André's crew had been affected by the pressures of his intense touring schedule. When was the very first time it happened? A heartbreaking moment. André Rieu once acknowledged that stress could have serious consequences on his health. In the past, he suffered a severe inner ear infection brought on by overwork, which led him to vow that he would focus solely on what he loved, music. For a while, it looked like he was staying true to that promise. However, recent developments have reignited concerns, drawing eerie parallels to a previous health scare that shook his fans. In 2016, his supporters were alarmed when Rieu abruptly cancelled several tour dates. The announcement triggered widespread speculation, with many fearing that the beloved violinist was once again battling a serious illness. Given his medical history, it didn't seem far-fetched. Rumors of a relapse quickly spread, though it was eventually revealed that his own health was not the cause. Instead, a close member of his orchestra had passed away, and the emotional toll was too heavy for Rieu to continue. He needed time to mourn. But by then, the rumors had already taken hold. Now, nearly 10 years after his initial health crisis and long after that 2016 incident, a similar situation has unfolded. Earlier today, it was announced that Rieu's sold-out concert at the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham, UK, had been postponed. I'm very honored. You know, music has a healing power. The reason behind the cancellation was that a member of the Johann Strauss Orchestra had suffered a heart attack early that morning. Rieu's production company released a statement explaining that he was heartbroken by the emergency and deeply saddened to call off the show. The affected musician remains in critical condition in the hospital, and fans were asked to be patient and understanding during this difficult period. A new date for the concert will be announced once things have stabilized. Although this cancellation wasn't due to Rieu's personal health, many fans couldn't help but worry. Given his past issues, some feared the emotional strain might impact him physically once again. To Rieu, the Johann Strauss Orchestra is more than just a group of musicians, it's his family on tour. This situation brings back haunting memories for longtime followers who recall how quickly concern turned into panic during the 2016 tour. After dealing with multiple health challenges over the years, Rieu has made a significant decision rooted in a personal realization. That decision? To slow down. After completing only 2 shows in Mexico, he had to cancel the remaining concerts and fly home to Maastricht due to a sudden illness. It was a big move, one that made him confront the fact that he might need to ease up, despite his desire to perform at full pace until the end. He confessed that he still dreams of playing tirelessly for as long as he can. But this time, everything became overwhelming. Once home with his wife Marjorie, it became clear that rescheduling those cancelled shows wasn't realistic. Rieu prefers not to speak publicly about these issues. That responsibility usually falls to his son and spokesperson, Pierre. Pierre explained that several factors impacted his father's health. One was the altitude of the National Auditorium in Mexico City, which sits about 2.5 kilometers above sea level. It took a real toll on his body. On top of that, Rieu caught a nasty flu, making things worse. And when we play Mexico with Mexico but your mate, you should think. Despite his commitment to staying healthy through regular exercise, jogging, tennis, and nutritious meals, Rieu has had to face the realities of aging. He takes pride in his endurance, but this time he found himself unable to go on. His legs were trembling, and he feared he might collapse during a performance. That fear ultimately led him to cancel the tour, an extremely rare choice for him. Pierre shared that in the past, André had performed while ill, even with a fever. But this experience was different. It was simply too much to bear. Though he has since made a full recovery, the illness forced the cancellation of 4 concerts, disappointing tens of thousands of fans. Ticket holders will get refunds, but there are no plans to reschedule. Rieu reportedly told his team that he no longer wants to subject himself to such extremes. Long-distance travel to places like Mexico and Australia is no longer guaranteed, as the flights and time zone changes are exhausting. Although concerts in Chile, Argentina, and Colombia are still on the calendar for later in the year, his team is now evaluating which destinations are truly worth the risk. From here on out, they plan to take things year by year. While Rieu may avoid extensive international tours, fans from across the globe are still welcome to visit Maastricht, where you're probably here with a question in mind, right? But let's talk about the things that truly matter. In an interview from his castle in Maastricht, André Rieu shared that he still had so much he wanted to experience in life and couldn't imagine spending his days just cruising on a ship. During his chat with The Standard, he mentioned that he and his family allowed themselves a simple 3-day getaway to Rome each year. Beyond that, though, his life was fully dedicated to music. He never took long breaks or considered retirement. "It's not just any orchestra," he explained. "It's my orchestra. I built it. It's my life's work." That was something he wasn't planning to change. In the same interview, Rieu jokingly remarked that he was only halfway through his life, considering his bold plan to live until 140. Even at his age, his mind was buzzing with ideas for upcoming tours, and he was already thinking of ways to surpass his current performances. Still, he had come to realize the need to slow down. Despite his excitement, he admitted he struggled to sleep after concerts, which posed real health risks. He recalled the difficult times during the COVID lockdowns, describing the experience as pure torture. In those sleepless nights, he turned to one of his favorite hobbies, baking. He said it was a huge honor to be in what he called the most beautiful hall in the world. He found comfort watching baking tutorials on his iPhone, and baking quickly became one of his favorite ways to unwind. His creations often made their way onto social media, and he even appeared as a guest on the Dutch version of the Great British Bake Off, known locally as Heel Holland Bakt. Some people jokingly suggested he could switch careers and become a baker, but Rieu firmly rejected the idea. Through his spokesperson, he clarified that while he enjoyed time in the kitchen, nothing could replace his deep passion for music. His unwavering love for performing was what kept him going, constantly evolving as an artist despite the obstacles he faced or might face in the future. "I only play the music that touches my heart," he said. So what is André Rieu's current health status? Could this be the final curtain call for his shows in Australia and other distant places from Maastricht? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.